Elizabeth was 18 years old when her father asked her for help fixing up the basement. She didn't realize this would mean she wouldn't see the light of day again for over 2 decades.
Ist nicht halb so schlimm wie dieser Mensch. Also, der Teufel würd's, wenn es ihn gibt, ja nicht seinen eigenen Sohn antun oder seinen eigenen.
Elizabeth was the fourth of 7 siblings, the children of Josef and Rosemary Fritzl. When she was just 11 years old, her life took a turn for the worse, and she began to live the worst nightmare anyone could ever imagine. The person who was supposed to represent a figure of protection and care transformed into the monster his own daughter feared the most. For years, Elizabeth had to endure the abuse and aggression at the hands of her father, to the point where she began to take courses to become a waitress, looking for an escape from her tortuous reality.
Das hat sich dann im Laufe der Jahre hat sich das dann geändert. Da hat man dann gemerkt, dass ein Despot ist, also dass was sagt, das Wort zählt und kein anderes. Ne?
Once she turned 18 and finished her studies, a job opportunity arose that would finally give her that escape she longed for so badly. Unfortunately, her father had other plans for her. One day, her father asked her for help installing a door in the basement, to which she agreed without much resistance, not knowing that this would be the worst decision of her life. Once she was finished with the installation, her father took her from behind and covered her mouth with a towel soaked in chloroform, causing her to lose consciousness. When Elizabeth awoke, she found herself in an absolutely airtight room, with no ventilation and no natural light. However, she never imagined that this would be just the beginning. Josef Fritzl had painstakingly built an 80 square meters dungeon underneath his own house. The disappearance alerted his relatives, who alerted the police. However, they quickly stopped looking when they began receiving letters from Elizabeth, claiming to be fine and saying that she'd joined some sort of cult. As the years went by and the abuse continued, the young Austrian woman began to conceive children of her own father. Only one of them failed to survive after being born with respiratory problems and not being medically assisted. With the arrival of the children, the space became small, and Josef came up with a plan to move 3 of them to live outside the basement. One by one, he left the children at the door of his house with a letter by Elizabeth, which she was forced to write by her father, where she pointed out that she was fine, but that she could not take care of the children and hoped that her mother would be able to help her. That's how Kirsten, Stephen, and Felix became resigned to live a life of abuse and mistreatment, distanced from the rest of society. When he left, we lived our lives, but when he was there, everything was silent. He was simply omnipotent.
A medida que los niños crecen, hay puntos críticos en su desarrollo, ¿ya? Donde necesitan de un ambiente protegido, un ambiente seguro para desenvolverse y también para poder superar estos obstáculos o dificultades, frustraciones que se les van presentando. Estos niños podrían presentar dificultades o disfuncionalidades en la interacción social con otros, sobre todo con los pares, porque no aprendieron a desenvolverse con personas en distintos ambientes, en distintas circunstancias, sino que estuvieron muy privados de muchas cosas.
However, everything changed in 2008 when Kirsten, who was 18 years old at the time, became seriously ill. After incessant pleas from Elizabeth to take her to the doctor, Josef agreed for the first time to let someone out of this horrific ordeal. Elizabeth saw this outing as her only opportunity to escape and tucked a note in her daughter's clothes. Kirsten arrived unconscious in such a deplorable and deteriorated condition that the doctors immediately suspected that something was wrong. Upon finding the note, they immediately called the local authorities, who quickly put the pieces together with Elizabeth's disappearance. They arrived at the scene where they found the heartbreaking story. Josef was immediately arrested and indicted on various charges, of which he was found guilty. He was sentenced to life imprisonment and psychiatric confinement. This episode will undoubtedly remain forever engraved in the minds of his victims and of all of those who knew or witnessed this real-life horror movie.